Good morning. Well, I'm Joanne O'Brien, as Tony told you. Some of you may know me because I've been here before to speak, but I originally started coming here to sing because I'm a singer. So I'm a religious science practitioner out of the North Hollywood Church with Dr. Mark Vieira. I studied at the Holmes Institute, almost finished my master's in consciousness studies, and just consciously decided, I just don't think I want to continue doing this. So here I am. And today, I'm also here all the way from Paris because I was in Paris and London this past 10 days. I spent Easter in Paris and the previous week in London, and I had never been. So it was really exciting, and I got to visit a lot of sacred places and a lot of sacred coffee shops as well, and sacred shopping avenues. And so if it brings us joy, I say it's a sacred experience, right? So I'm happy to be back, and I did not realize when I woke up this morning that it was actually spring, so I'm still dressed for Paris today. So what I want to talk about today is the power of decision. And I'm going to be referring to a book by Raymond Charles Barker. So if you're not familiar with Raymond Charles Barker, he's one of my favorite New Thought and religious science ministers. He has since passed away, but he was pretty much the guy in New York City, and he spoke every Sunday at Avery Fisher Hall. So he wrote a book called The Power of Decision, a step-by-step program to overcome indecision and live without failure. Now, part of the talk also is the power of decision and the power of procrastination, complacency, and apathy. But I just didn't think that if I included that, you would all show up. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things here. So Raymond Charles Barker says, "You are the right person in the right place to create a right world for yourself." You are the right person in the right place to create a right world for yourself. And he asks us to explore who we are in our decision-making process. Who are we? Who shows up to how we make decisions or how we don't decide? Because we do both. And I can tell you that if you think you're not making a decision, you're deciding not to decide. He also says, decision is the most important function of the individual mind. No creative process can begin until a decision is made. So I'll say that again. Decision is the most important function of the individual mind. No creative process can begin until a decision is made. So there's 6 birds, and they are sitting on a wire, and one decides to fly away. So how many birds are left? 6. He only decided to fly. He didn't actually take action and fly away. So how many times do we decide to do something and stay inactive about it? We all do this. It's the first of the year, and on our birthdays, we're like, okay, it's a new year. I'm going to do this. And then we just kind of leave it in this place in our journal that we revisit a few months later and realize, what happened to that goal, right? And so what I want to do is say, let's agree on something this morning. Let's agree that right now is a clean slate. Right now we get to start today. So all the decisions we've made in the past, whether good or bad, there's nothing we can do about them now. We can't change the decisions that we've made, but we can start fresh today, right? We can start fresh with a new attitude or a new idea about our decisions. And I really encourage you to hear this with hope and not punishment. Really with inspiration and encouragement, not a place of blame, shame, or regret, because those are the things we have to give up in order to move forward in our life. The only person judging us is us, because anyone else who's creating judgment on us, it's just not our business. It's not our place. And also, when we start to focus on all those things, it's really just a distraction from the task at hand. And we know that, but it's hard to remember. So honestly, there's nothing we can do. Right now, where you are, where we're sitting, it's a clean slate. But I also want to make sure you understand that it's not a clean slate from the effect of decisions we've made in the past, whether good or bad. So when we decide in the moment to make a shift, whether it be on our organizational skills, on doing our taxes on a timely manner, on exercising, because it's always exercise and it's always losing weight and reducing sugar, there's no quantum leap to demonstration. And if there is, let's talk later on, because there's a book, and if you have a quantum leap to demonstration, the minute you think about it to seeing it happen. We've got to have patience, and we have to love ourselves in the process of changing. Because when you change, you're changing your habits, right? We're changing habits that are ingrained and instilled in us. And it is with the practice of religious science, our thought is the most powerful thing that we have. We teach, treat, and move your feet. So pray about it, but you got to take action, right? A lot of times things happen in our lives and we react, but the thing is we stay in reaction mode. And that's what gets us caught in a loop. And it's a habit. So it's the human condition to react. I say stay in reaction mode for a few minutes. Throw a tantrum. Do whatever you need to do as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. And then get into proactivity, because we know that there is a solution. Because if we've shown up at this church, religious science, we understand that in the principles of religious science, there's infinite supply, which means there's infinite solution. And if we don't see that, if you don't get that, I just want to make sure you know that it's true. So if you're here, in religious science, we believe in infinite supply. So sometimes we make decisions in our lives and we think that we're a failure because what we decided to do and the plan that we put into action did not meet our expectations. The goal was not met, right? So we think of ourselves as a failure. And many times we are looking at ourselves as a failure because we're comparing ourselves to somebody else. Right? We're comparing ourselves to someone else's process and how they did it. And again, comparison is a distraction. Teddy Roosevelt said, comparison is the thief of joy. And it really is. It is our job to just mind our own business. When I learned and started out in practitioner training, one of the first things my teacher said to me was, just worry about your side of the street. And that has served me. And it's also come back to bite me when I haven't remembered that. And then I have to come back and remember, it's just your journey is the only one that matters because you're the one who puts your head on the pillow at night, right? So let's just talk about failure in our decisions when we set out to do a goal. It's really all subjective. It's all just our perspective on the word failure. So just for the sake of making it easy, let's say you want to win a race and there's 10 people in the race and your goal is to be number one, right? You want to be number one, but you come in second. Did you fail? No. You reached 90% of your goal. And that's how we have to look at things. You reached 90% of your goal. So therefore, you get to step back and say, okay, I want to be number one. I was number 2. Somebody else was number 10. You get to stay there for just a moment. Otherwise, it's a distraction. But there's tools available to us to help us move forward to become number 1. And we just try again. And we're really only competing against ourselves. Because if you keep competing about someone else, again, you get distracted. So what can I do? If it's an infinite supply, let's say you fail in business. Ultimately, you didn't fail. You just didn't reach your goal with the information that you had up until now, with the tools that you had up until now. Because how could we possibly know everything if it's an infinite universe? That's the great thing about infinite. Every time you reach an obstacle or a stumbling block or you feel stuck, and I have to say, and I'm sorry to say, but someone taught me this, stuck, and we all use it, is really just a rationalization. We are never stuck. There is always a way to move forward. So, as we decide to move forward, we realize there's two states of being, right? There's growing or declining. You're either growing or you're declining. You're never in between, right? So if you think that you want to be in between, then meditate, because that's really kind of the only in-between place, is just being still. But even in that, you're growing, because you're growing your consciousness, right? So whenever we don't take action in our lives, whenever we are indecisive, we are declining. But whenever we are making decision, we are growing towards a greater expression of who we are. And each and every single one of us has this magnificent power within us to be who we want to be. But we have to make sure we know it's who we want to be. Who are we showing up for our decisions? Are we deciding for us? Or are we deciding to make other people happy? Right? That's a whole other talk on codependence. And someone wrote a great book on that. It's not my area of expertise. So Raymond Charles Barker, I have to read something he wrote in the very beginning of the book. He writes, the individual's ability to act unintelligently in a universe of intelligence is amazing. Now, we've all had that experience driving on the freeway, and just like, that is amazing. You see someone in the store doing something, that is amazing how incredibly stupid that person is, right? That is amazing. Unintelligence functioning in human consciousness produces wrong decisions. And we watch kids do it all the time. And sometimes you gotta let him make that mistake. He's gonna learn. But we do it as adults. And sometimes the repercussion as adults is a bit stronger. So as a result of these wrong decisions, people limit themselves with sickness, financial strain, family quarrels, and frustration, all of which are unnecessary. The power to make right decisions is yours. And so we all know, let's just take sickness. First of all, everyone's been sick at one time or another, and sometimes you don't know what brought it on, but sometimes, let's say you're allergic to dairy and you just can't resist the cheesecake. So just eat the cheesecake and don't complain, because you know it's going to get you sick, right? You see the shoes, you want the shoes, you know you have a car payment, but you see the shoes. If you buy the shoes, wear them and be happy. Don't complain that you can't make your car payment because you made the decision to do something that didn't really serve your highest good. Now, I hope that we can live in a universe where our car payments and our shoes are met with absolute infinite prosperity and abundance, and there is just enough shoes and just enough everything for us to be fabulous and happy. Clearly, my priorities are displaying themselves. So let's talk about health for a minute and decisions. This is a personal story, and some of you know it and some of you don't. So 4.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it came on really quickly. Actually, I knew I was sick for about a year, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and I kept going to doctor after doctor trying to figure out what it was. And finally, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I had a big tumor in my neck, and it was growing very quickly. So I had to get clear on what my decision process was going to be and what decisions I was going to make about my health and the course of action. So I got quiet and I said, well, what do I know? I know that non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is one of the most well-researched cancers there is with the highest rate of recovery. Okay, I know that I have run 2 triathlons raising money for lymphoma and leukemia 10 years in advance. So I have met countless people that are survivors. I also know that my brother-in-law unfortunately passed away from the very same cancer. So I knew there was both of those things. I knew I had health insurance that was going to cover my chemo. I also knew that I had a friend who had gone to Mexico who had stage 4 pancreatic cancer and did the treatment down there and is completely fine, healthy, and very much flourishing today. But I knew I didn't have the financial resources to go down to Mexico. So here I am in this process of making an informed decision. I also knew that being in religious science, there were going to be some people that use the properties and use the principles of religious science in not the healthiest way. kind of in a way of shaming or what brought this on? Who really needs to hear that, right? I'm sorry. So there were people I really shut out, and there were people I included. And I knew that there were people that were my friends who were really advanced in the holistic industry, and they were going to disagree with my decision to move forward and get chemo. I didn't really want to do chemo, but I knew based on all the information I had at this moment, this decision was going to serve me the best. And in the end, there would probably be some repercussions I wasn't really happy about, but I had to trust the voice inside. I had to trust my gut, and I had to decide that some people were going to have judgment on me. Some people weren't going to be happy. And I had to decide who I was going to be. And so I went through it. I came out, here I am, voila. So we know that it all worked out. And I don't regret anything. But the reason I don't regret it is because I made informed decisions knowing the pros and the cons. We can't make decisions knowing that it's 100% a pro, because half the time we make a decision, somebody else might lose. And there's a con for them, not our business, right? So for me, I made this decision. Now, if I had to make it again today, I don't really know. I have a whole lot more information. Maybe I would do things different, but I know that I would do it with now all the new information that I have up until now. And that is what, the power of decision. Get informed, but also know who's in your tribe. Because one of the things that we do when we are searching in decision is we ask people for advice. And don't we know that everybody wants to give us advice? Unsolicited advice, too. People always want to come up and tell you what to do. But when we continue going to outside sources for advice, yet again, it's a distraction. You have to decide sooner or later what you're going to do. So why not just decide sooner in every little area and in big areas? Cancer was a big area, but there's little areas. What am I going to decide to do today? At the end of the day, what will serve me? What will make me happy? Will it be fun to just sit around watching, I don't know, NCIS reruns? Or should I go for a run and maybe review, something I'm writing or do something productive? It's all in decision. So one of the other things that Raymond Charles Barker said, let's see. Oh, well, here's a good one. He insisted that we say to ourselves on a daily basis, I am pure intelligence, always acting intelligently. And in order for us to move forward in this life and in this teaching of religious science, you've got to understand that you are pure intelligence. Every one of us has equal access to infinite supply and source. No one has it any better than anyone else. We're all the same, right? So, seriously, you don't wake up in the daytime and say, I believe in infinite mediocrity. I believe in infinite failure, infinite disease, sickness, and poverty. We don't say that. It's silly to say that. No one says that. So, if we have issues in our lives and we are using the principles of religious science, we have to examine, how are we using the principles? Are we showing up, finding all the reasons why we can't or why we can? Because it's an equal opportunity. You can find the reasons why you can't, and you can find the reasons why you can. And that's what we have to constantly know for ourselves, is that there is something greater available to us. So Raymond Charles Barker talks about something called self-awareness. And he says, never underestimate yourself. If the universe knows you as intelligence, then it must be so, right? If the universe knows you as intelligent, it must be so. So I'm going to tell you another little story. I used to live in New York City, and I had a successful career as a cabaret artist back there. And people would come to me and they would say, so do you write your own music? And I would, no. I don't write my own music. And I would think, I work with some of the most incredible composers in the cabaret community, the phenomenal storytellers. Why would I write a story. Why would I write a song? I mean, they have it covered. And I always felt this way. No. But it bothered me. And you know, what you resist persists, right? So then I had all these songs in my head, and I just kind of let it simmer, but never really said anything, because I thought I couldn't compete. Because here I was comparing myself to all these amazing people, not knowing their process of how many hundreds of songs you've written and probably only recorded a smidgen of those songs, right? So I moved to Los Angeles, and I find the Search of Religious Science. And Dr. Mark Vieira in North Hollywood invites me to come to a Silmar. So I'm at a Silmar, and he's up there talking, and he says, the only prayer that you should say to yourself is, I am so blessed. And I sat there and I thought, I'm going to write that chant. I'm going to write, I am so blessed. That's what I'm going to do. And on the other side of the room was sitting Karen Drucker. And Karen Drucker wrote, I am so blessed, but the difference between the two of us is that she let everybody know that she wrote, I am so blessed. And then her song became, we're going to sing it today, this incredible song that we all sing. And I had compared myself to her, and I stalled for years on getting my song out there. And then finally I sang it at a couple services, and then I had self-doubt, and I let everybody sing Karen's song. You know, she already wrote it, and she's great, and you love Karen. So forget that. So what you resist persists. So now, about 3 years ago, I've joined this company. I've partnered with a company that is really, really big on self-development, personal growth, and live happy, right? So I'm at one of our conferences, and they have a keynote speaker, and he says to everyone, here's the deal. You all need to change your mantra. You need to say, I am amazing. So I go, I'm going to write that song. I'm going to write that song, and Karen Drucker is not in this room, and I'm going to write that song, and I'm going to be up on that stage. And so I took notes, and I went home, and I wrote the song. And then I called a friend. I asked my friend to help me. I said, you got to help me write this song. And then I called my other friend, you got to help me record this song. And then he brought in someone else, and it was this huge collaborative effort, right, to write this song called I Am Amazing. And I let my vision pull me forward because I decided I was going to write the song. I decided I was going to be on that stage. And a year ago, maybe it was 2 years ago now, I found myself on stage at the Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis singing I Am Amazing to 16,000 people, right? Holy smokes. I mean, here I am. I was scared to have 5 people hear my I am so blessed chant. And then I wrote a song, and I performed it in front of 16,000 people. And I learned all this great stuff. Now, granted, there's been doubts and whatnot since then, but it was about not arguing with myself anymore and just moving forward. Raymond Charles Barker says, watch your alibis. Watch your alibis. You know, what are your excuses? Again, comparison is the thief of joy. We get to decide what we want to experience and what are we pouring in. What are we pouring in? If there was only 2 channels to listen to, and one was a combination of Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and it was all on one channel, right? And then there's another channel called the Good Deed Network, where all you hear about is amazing things that happen. If you only watch that channel, does it mean that that's not happening? No, it's just what I'm focusing on. And if you only watch the happy channel, does it mean that you have no empathy or compassion for all of the suffering in the world? Absolutely not. So when you're focusing on the CNN and the Fox News and all the anger television that's happening, does that mean that happiness isn't happening? No, it's just what we focus on. And it's all happening over there. So why not just go, wow, I'd rather be with this group of people and just know that this group could go over here if they wanted to. It's just a choice of how we wake up in our day, right? So I want to talk for a minute about how am I on time? Am I good? I don't know. Who knows? All right, so I want to talk for a little bit, just for a minute, on indecision. So Teddy Roosevelt says, in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing at all. So I'm just going to say that again. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing at all. So for anyone who thinks that temporary indecision is this life raft, I don't mean to instill panic and anxiety in you, but it is absolutely a sinking ship. If you don't decide, you just stay in this area of not being all that you can be. Make a decision. Maybe it's not a good one, but at least you moved forward and you took action. And we use our decisions, good or bad, as blueprints for our life, as stepping stones. So all the good is the blueprint, and the stepping stones are the little mini failures, right? You know, I also want to make sure I'm clear that as you're gathering information, this is kind of that time where you're taking action. Maybe you haven't decided yet, but you're doing your homework. But if you find that it's taking you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years to do your homework, to make a decision, well, you're in trouble. That's where procrastination comes in. Procrastination, complacency, and apathy. So these are things that stagnate every area of our life, and they keep us from being who it is that we are meant to be. So they're really like this holding pattern, and they eat away at the creative process. And they deny this flow of good when we keep not writing that book, not calling somebody that we want to call. Maybe there's somebody we want healing with, and we think about it over and over. How many times have we thought about, and I don't mean to make this sad, but you think about someone, I got to call them, it's been so long, and then you find out they've passed away. And you think, I was just going to call them last week. You know, you have to forgive yourself in those moments. You got to really forgive yourself. But when you are inspired to do something, take action and do it, right? Take action, do it, and finish it. There's a guy named Jeff Olson. He wrote a book called The Slight Edge. He is a multimillionaire and has made a lot of mistakes along the way and has had a lot of successes in his life. But what he talks about is the compound effect of making little decisions every single day, and how it's a slight edge, either up or a slight edge, either down. So let's just talk about spiritual practice, right? Meditating every single day keeps us in this state. It keeps us connected to Source. But when we only meditate, or we only pray, or we only seek counsel in the moment of struggle or chaos, you're not serving yourself. And the bottom line is we have the tools, so let's just use them. If you really want to be in great shape, then go out for a walk. Don't think about it. Go do it. Because this is it. This is all we have. So if you do 10 sit-ups a day, you're not going to have a flat stomach in 24 hours. But if you do 10 sit-ups a day, you're probably going to end up doing 12. Then you'll do 14. And over time, your pants will fit different, right? You'll look different. And that's a very easy solution. If that's not your thing, don't worry about it. But it's an easy thing to see. You know, we always look at weight and body because it's so tangible. But look at your life and your finances. Do you put a little away every month, or do you put a little away and then take it out? Put a little away and then take it out. And then 2 years down the line, you're like, oh man, I wanted to do this thing to my house, and had I not been taking it out all along, I would have had the money to do it. So that's regret, right? And that's where we're remorseful because we didn't stick to our decisions. We didn't plan for our highest good. And these are all just simple little, you can find anything in your life where this applies, right? So one of the things that Jeff Olson says, he suggests that 80% of what we accomplish gets done in the last 20% of the time allotted to the task. Oh man, I'm not going to go any further on that. It's the law of procrastination, right? Ralph Waldo Emerson says, once we make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. And we all know that he is one of the fathers of New Thought, one of our go-tos, Emerson. The universe truly conspires to whatever it is we decide. So let's just take time for a moment, right? We believe that our spirits are eternal. We believe that our souls go on eternally, but we showed up in a physical body. And as we know it now, it could change because it's an infinite universe. Our bodies have a time limit on them, and we actually don't know what the time limit is. Now, that could be depressing, or it could not be depressing. you know? There's a song I sing called May I Suggest, and the lyrics are, and when we're gone and when the dark descends, oh, we'd give anything for one more hour of light. Now that could get you agitated, and it could make you feel sad. Or if you can think of it, that if you live your life every day to, oh my God, I just wanted to keep this going. I don't want to go to sleep because this is great. Remember when you're a kid and you have a play date, or you go to your cousins for the weekend and you're like, come on, one more hour, we just want to stay another day. Can we stay another day? So, you know, and when the last hour comes, do you want it to be filled with regret, or do you want it to be filled with, well, up until now, man, I've been having a great time. And now we're not going to have a great time every day, but it's about how we approach our lives, how we approach our decisions, right? So one of the things when I talked about procrastination, when we put off our good, two other words that come along with procrastination are complacency and apathy. So this trio, procrastination, complacency, and apathy, really do kill our spirit. They really do erode at the great people that we are here to be, right? There's a guy named David Bird. He is a mentor of mine, and I am so grateful for his teaching, although at times I am challenged because he speaks the truth all the time. And he says, his definition of apathy is a natural human instinct common to us all that consistently encourages us to seek a comfort zone in which nothing ever changes. Oh. Let me read that again. A natural human instinct common to us all that consistently encourages us to seek a comfort zone in which nothing ever changes. We all get comfortable. We get comfortable in our lives. We get comfortable in our relationships. And what happens is we take them for granted. We take our lives for granted. We take our relationships for granted. We take our spiritual practice for granted. It's called practice for a reason. You have to do it every day. Football players, Olympians, dancers don't just practice and then go, okay, well, you know, I've got a gig in a month. I practiced, I'm good. They practice up until the moment of performance and continue practicing. And so for us, performance with spiritual practice is sometimes celebrating something great that happened, but sometimes it's being there for a friend and being there in someone else's hour of grief and pain. And we've got to keep it up. And guess what? We need friends to remind us. We need church to remind us. We need PBS specials to remind us. There's so much available to remind us of who we are and to stay on track, to live the best life that we can be. But it's got to be our best life, not someone else's version, not somebody else's best life. Because the cost of procrastination, it's huge. And you can start right now. Raymond Charles Barker says, self-defeat is easy to accomplish. Indecisiveness has a great deal to do with self-defeat. The man God made is intended to succeed. He is mentally and emotionally equipped to do so. It is so easy, this one got me, to blame the first 6 years of your life for all of your later problems. We have got to let go of this is what happened when I was 3, okay? The right decision concerning the present and the future may be all that is needed to turn a failure-prone person into a success-adventuring person. And like I said before, there's no quantum leap to demonstration, right? It's all about decision. Everything is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Prosperity is a choice, because you got to look at what is prosperity to you. Is it that person's prosperity? Maybe that's not important, the big, huge house and the big, huge car. And who knows, that might not be important to them either, because they just happen to have it. You have to think of what will make you feel fulfilled, and then go for it, and only include those in your vision that support it, right? So I'm sure you've all heard this before. Have you all heard Christian Larson's Promise Yourself? No. Okay, good. So I'm going to read this to you. This is by Christian D. Larson. You can hear it as promise yourself, or you could hear it as decide. Because I read this almost every day, and I have to go back at the end of the day and revisit, did I really do this? And most of the times I've missed, but I still at least have that place to come back to. And that is what prayer is and meditation is for us. We've got the groundwork to start from. That's what religious science is. If you've got a place to start. So Christian Larson says, promise yourself, decide to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best, to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own, to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to greater achievements of the future, to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile, to give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others, to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble, to think well of yourself and to proclaim this fact to the world in loud words, not loud words, but in great deeds, to live in faith that the whole world is on your side, so long as you are true to the best that is within you. So, I guess sometimes I think about, I don't know, has anyone else ever thought about the lottery? You think, if I could just win the lottery, then everything would be okay. And if I won the lottery, these are the things that I would do. And these are the people I would give to, and these are the people I wouldn't give to. And these are the things I would buy, and these are the things. So we've all had that moment. And if you haven't, God bless you. But most of us have thought, what would I do if I won the lottery? But here's the good news. We have a lottery. We have the lottery of our thoughts. And there's infinite thoughts to choose from because it's an infinite universe. So every day we get to win the lottery of our own thoughts. So if we can think about that, you wake up every day hopeful. And if you're having trouble with your thoughts, find a go-to. Find a CD to listen to. Find someone to call. Find a practitioner. We don't want to call our friends too much because you don't want to be that person when I see that idea, I don't want to answer that phone, you know. But if anything I've said today, if you're not that person who procrastinates, if you're that person who is a decision maker, if you're that person who is really proactive in your life and you think perhaps most of these words are irrelevant, I encourage you to see the relevance. And here's why. Because when you show up in your life as the greatest person that you can be, you don't know who is watching in silent awe. You do not know who is looking at you and seeing your example. So if you can be the best example for yourself every day, it gives you a sense of compassion for those who are struggling, because we are our brother's keeper. We're not every brother's keeper. We can't save the world, but we can save ourselves. And when you save yourself, I promise you, there are people around you who win. Everybody wins. So life is a gift, and obviously we are here. We are upright and we are breathing, so we have all done something successful today to get here. And the only thing we have in life is this moment. So what are we going to do with it? So let's all just turn within and say a prayer. We just all take this moment, just settle in, feeling ourselves in this room and feeling the presence of that one mind, that infinite source, the infinite supply that is available to each and every single one of us here equally, without preference. I know that this time together was divinely appointed. I know that every single one of us in this room, while physically separate in form, we are one in divine mind. I know that there is a force and a source operating on the unseen side of life for our highest good. And our only job is to allow it to come through and be. I absolutely know a joyful life for every single person in this room, myself included. I know that all I want is available to me, all everyone wants is available. And I know it is in the choosing to decide what serves us that the absolute glory of ourselves is called forth. I simply say a prayer for each and every single one of us in this room that we are today shifted and changed in some way. We are inspired to think, inspired to do, inspired to release, inspired to embrace something new and different. And I absolutely know it is available for us to do this in such a sense of hope and such a sense of inspiration. And I simply express my gratitude, knowing that as we have all come here together in a divine manner, that we are safely and protected in our journeys home, and that every single person we meet is shifted and changed from our vibration, from our internal glow, from the light that shines within each and every single one of us. And so I just simply say thank you. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for this time together. And I release my word into law knowing it's done. And on the unseen side of life, all unfolds perfectly as it was, as it is right here and right now, and as it ever shall be. And so it is, and together we all say, Amen. Thank you.